What should I do, and what tests should I urgently take if I have an enlarged prostate? An enlarged prostate isn't prostatitis, it's not adenoma, and it's not a disease at all, but a symptom of testosterone dominance. To understand this, let's draw an analogy. Compare an enlarged prostate to a check engine light in a car. Testosterone is the engine, the enlarged prostate, and the flashing check engine light. If the check engine light is flashing, we all know there's no point in banging on the dashboard because the light isn't the issue. It's signaling a problem elsewhere. When the check engine light is flashing, the car is taken to a service center. When a man has an enlarged prostate, he goes to a urologist for a checkup. I'm 40 years old. I'd like to have a full checkup because I've started to notice some warning signs. These warning signs are an enlarged prostate. The urologist thoroughly examines the prostate, probes it with his finger, does an ultrasound, and writes, "The contours are clear. The sulcus is not smoothed out, not fused with the rectum. The rectal examination is moderately painful." Basically, a detailed description of the prostate. Imagine you brought your car to a service center and the mechanic music carefully examines the flashing light, completely ignoring the other parts of the car, and makes a conclusion. The light is in good working order. We'll keep an eye on it. Come back in 3 months. You'd entrust your car to such a mechanic. A urologist is exactly that kind of mechanic. He carefully examined the flashing light, that is, the enlarged prostate. And since the prostate is functioning normally, the tests are normal, the testosterone is normal, he prescribes treatment. And treatment is called observation. If you watch the flashing light, the engine will burn out. If you watch the enlarged prostate, an adenoma will grow, because an enlarged prostate is the first, very initial stage of an adenoma. So give me 10 minutes, and I'll do the mechanics work. I'll show you exactly where the problem is and how to fix it. I've already mentioned that I'm a member of the international medical community on men's health issues, and today I'm relying on the research of Professor Michael Zitzman, a member of the Royal Society of Medicine in the UK, and an andrologist who claims that the condition of all male internal organs depends on testosterone. It's known that the target organs of testosterone and its metabolites are varied. Testosterone, as well as the product of its aromatization, is estradiol, and the product of 5-alpha reductase, which we call dihydrotestosterone. Testosterone is an inactive hormone. All testosterone is divided into 2 parts. Part, under the action of aromatase, is converted into estradiol, and the second part, under the action of p-alpha reductase, is converted into dihydrotestosterone. They have a significant impact on many organs. Their receptors are found in almost every cell, in mammary gland tissue, in the liver, in smooth muscle cells, as well as in endothelial cells, and in the bone marrow where red blood cells mature. Of all the organs, the prostate is the most sensitive to testosterone. How does the prostate hear testosterone? Through receptors, which we agreed in the last video to call ears. To hear my explanation, you need ears, because without ears, how will you hear, right? So each hormone has its own receptors. Receptors are the ears with which the cell listens to the hormone's commands. The cell has special ears for progesterone, testosterone, and insulin. The professor says that every cell in a man's body has ears for testosterone, but there's a nuance. Just as each person listens to a specific type of music, chanson, rock, or classical, the cells of internal organs such as the liver, kidneys, or prostate are tuned to preferentially listen to specific hormones. Here's a quick look at the numbers. A blood cell has 40 insulin receptors, meaning 40 pairs of ears to detect insulin. A liver cell has 400 insulin receptors, meaning 400 pairs of ears to detect insulin. Which cell do you think will become obese faster, a blood cell or a liver cell? Liver cells have a record number of insulin receptors, which is why the first grams of excess fat appear in the liver, while prostate cells have a record number of testosterone receptors. Therefore, by monitoring the prostate, what's happening? Whether it's chronic prostatitis or simply engorged, we can draw conclusions about a man's testosterone status. Therefore, if the prostate has enlarged, it indicates that something is wrong with testosterone. Continuing with the ear analogy, can we say that all men have the same ears? No, they don't. Some have neat ears, pressed against their heads, while others have large, protruding ears. Okay, so ears. Can we say that all men have the same sized penises? No, they don't. Some have long ones, some have thick ones. But if all men have different ears, if all men have different penises, then it's logical that everyone's ears for testosterone are also different. That's why the professor says that testosterone acts differently in all men, because different men have different sized ears for testosterone. Trav's study, which is the largest study ever conducted in the field of testosterone therapy, included patients with hypogonadism aged 45 to 80. This is a brief description of what happens in relation to testosterone, as well as the androgen receptor gene. And you can see that when the receptor gene functions very well, there's a strong effect. When the receptor is long, testosterone levels increase. There is some effect, but it's much weaker than with a good receptor. Let me explain. During the study, they draw a graph showing how testosterone acts depending on the receptor size of a particular man. On the graph, the green app is the androgen receptor, that is, the receptor for testosterone, and the unit of measurement is indicated next to it. It's measured in centimeters. One man might have a length of 15 and another 35, that is, more than twice as long. Do you think they react to testosterone differently? Well, of course they do. One man is given a drop of testosterone and all the effects begin, and another is doused with a bucket of testosterone, and he feels nothing because his receptor is weak and the cells don't hear the testosterone well. But that's not all. Continuing the insulin parallel, we know that insulin receptors are consumable, but the insulin receptor is disposable. Insulin binds to it only once, and that's it. The insulin receptor lasts for 2 minutes, and we eat every day, several times a day. And the body has billions of cells, so insulin receptors are consumable. They need to be constantly created. DNA contains instructions for creating an insulin receptor. There are hormones that are responsible for these receptors. These hormones are called estrogens. There is a hormone that is responsible for the formation of testosterone receptors. It's called hormone D. Simply taking vitamin D is useless. You need to make sure it converts to hormone D. We studied hormone D separately. See the link in the first comment. And testosterone receptors also need to be constantly created, new ones. Therefore, if the cells don't have enough testosterone receptors, then it doesn't matter how much testosterone is floating around in the blood. The cells don't hear it well, and testosterone can't work properly. That's why when a man describes himself like this, I'm 40 years old, clears throat, 2M tall, sexually, well, like twice a week regularly, and he says, "Look at my tests." Well, look at my tests. My testosterone is normal. Yeah, your tests are useless if we don't know the size of your receptor. Is it 15 or 35? So unless you're a prince or a king and you don't have the opportunity to get tested in a royal medical lab, then I have bad news for you. All your hormone tests are useless. That was the bad news, but there's good news too. Testosterone can be diagnosed indirectly without expensive tests. I'll explain how now. When we talk about hormonal health, we mean hormonal balance. That is, the hormones balance each other, just like in a car. We can't set the pressure in one tire and ignore the others. For a car to drive properly, you need to set the pressure in all tires. Testosterone works in balance with progesterone. So we can say that testosterone and progesterone are the driving force of the prostate. I'll briefly recap what we've already covered. Some women are prescribed high doses of progesterone by their gynecologists during pregnancy, and progesterone suppresses testosterone. So we can say that one tire is huge and the other is tiny. If the child is a male, then the boy is born with a micropenis and a microprostate. Boys like these often come to me, but with small genitals. This is a micropenis. So, with a testosterone deficiency, the prostate doesn't grow, and such a child will never become a full-fledged man. But if testosterone begins to predominate in a normal, healthy man, the prostate increases and develops into an adenoma. Then, besides surgery, the main treatment method is chemical castration pills. These include finasteride, Penester, Finast, Alphanol, Dutasteride, Avodart, and others. There are many more. The list is here, but it is not exhaustive. How do these drugs work? Essentially, they have an anti-hormonal effect. They block testosterone activation. As a result, the entire prostate gland and the adenoma decrease in size. This would be fine, but few people discuss the side effects in advance. When urologists prescribe chemical castration pills to men, the prostate shrinks. Therefore, the conclusion is, if there is little testosterone, we get a microprostate, that is, an underdeveloped organ. If there is too much testosterone, we get a macroprostate, that is, an enlarged, swollen prostate, sometimes even an adenoma. But what we need is not a micro or a macroprostate, but a normal, healthy organ. Therefore, our task is to balance hormones. Testosterone and progesterone are inactive hormones. To be activated, they must interact with the enzyme 5-alpha reductase. Testosterone wants to become the active hormone, dihydrotestosterone, and progesterone wants to be activated and become dihydroprogesterone. And we now know that 5-alpha reductase produces the more active androgen 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone and the more active progesterone 5-alpha dihydroprogesterone. Due to this competitive relationship, one wants 5-alpha reductase, the other wants 5-alpha reductase. But imagine if there is more of one and less of the other. If testosterone or progesterone is synthesized, could this somehow influence the formation, not 5-alpha reductase, but the formation of these active metabolites? The professor explains that testosterone and progesterone are, so to speak, fighting for the enzyme 5-alpha reductase. And prostate health depends on the outcome of this battle. The prostate is healthy only when neither can win, and they act as a check on each other. Pay close attention to the next section of information, because we're approaching the question of how to balance wheels, how to make a car run smoothly, and how to balance progesterone and testosterone. So listen carefully. Here, the metabolites that use 5-alpha reductase are highlighted. I'd like to point out that if we look at testosterone synthesis, cytochromes aren't involved, and testosterone synthesis doesn't require, well, a sufficient amount of iron, because these enzymes, even during formation, look at testosterone, edestendione, and the enzyme 17-hydroxysteroid, hydrogenase. And after 5-alpha reductase comes hydroxysteroid hydrogenase 3-alpha. So right here, there are cytochromes everywhere, right? Cytochrome. Cytochrome is used to convert one thing into another. We know the steroidogenesis process, but note that cytochrome is not needed for testosterone. In the hormone metabolism diagram, we're interested in two of them, progesterone and testosterone. We already know that these are inactive hormones. To be activated, they must interact with the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, which is highlighted in the diagram by a vertical white block. In the case of progesterone, the catalyst for the reaction is cytochrome, CYP, and cytochrome is iron. So for progesterone to become an active hormone, a normal iron level in the body is a prerequisite, and testosterone is converted into an active hormone without the participation of iron. One person will say JDY210 and another 2X213. Which one should we believe? We open the Pythagorean table, and it's true. Medicine is also mathematics. Because when one hormone becomes deficient, it means that another hormone becomes deficient. When one doctor says one thing and another says something else, there's no need to think and guess which one to believe. No need. We open the diagram of hormone metabolism. This is the medical multiplication table. And here's the whole truth. According to the medical multiplication table, here's what happens. As soon as a man's body starts to experience iron deficiency, testosterone continues to convert to its active form, dihydrotestosterone, while progesterone can't. And purely mathematically, there's more of one active hormone and less of the other. The balance is disrupted, and the prostate enlarges and swells. Therefore, the only checkup a man needs in this situation is an iron checkup. I'll tell you how to balance iron in one of my next videos because it's a huge topic. But what can we do right now to improve the situation? Until we get your iron levels, start taking omega-3, the supplement I have in hand, because it's a hormone. There's no fat involved. Omega-3 is a hormone because cells have special receptors for omega-3. Omega-3 is a hormone higher in the hierarchy than testosterone, higher than progesterone, because the synthesis of these hormones depends on omega-3. It's possible to live without testosterone. In principle, some men have already been castrated and they somehow survive. But without omega-3, life is impossible. Therefore, if you're watching this video right now, you definitely have some level of omega-3 in your body. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to live. But if you have prostate disease or other conditions, your omega-3 levels are definitely insufficient and need to be increased. If you take this omega supplement for at least 3 months, some men's prostates will stop enlarging, and for others, they'll even shrink, improve erections, and enhance potency. That's the first thing. Secondly, this omega-3 supplement eliminates the side effects of iron supplementation. Omega-3 isn't iron. Omega-3 is a safety net for iron supplementation. And this safety net must be high quality, otherwise it won't work and we won't achieve the effects we're hoping for. So order something that's truly proven. How do I order? The link is in the first comment below the video. And remember, whatever your health situation, you found this video and me at the right time. Let's calmly, without unnecessary emotions, sort out the iron supplementation, and your prostate will return to normal naturally. And if you need help, please contact me. And remember, when you order a course of omega-3, you get a health quartet as a gift.